Hello everybody, welcome back to Cash Only, your favorite spot for all things finance and crime. My name is Jules, and today we're going to cover what to do if you fall victim to a crypto scam. Can you get your money back? Where do you even go to report the scam? What do investigators even need from you to start looking into where your money went? With the crazy growth of crypto over the last few months, it's no surprise that scams have been on the rise. Now, if you don't know the telltale signs of a crypto scam, don't worry. We're working on a video and that's going to come out real soon. We'll be sure to link it below when it's out. To be completely honest, most victims of scammers, especially in crypto scams, are really unlikely to ever see their money again. Now, don't let this deter you. There's a lot of things you can do to really help your investigation and ensure that you get the best possible outcome. Step 1, gather all the evidence. Most importantly, you're going to need any transaction IDs for any payments you sent, the addresses you sent them to, and the exact amount that you sent. You'll need this for each and every transaction you did with the scammer. Sometimes you might see the transaction ID listed as the transaction hash or just hash. It's just a more technical way of saying the same thing. Investigators are going to use this information to follow your money and see exactly where the scammers moved it and where they're trying to cash out. And if your funds hit a cryptocurrency exchange, those exchanges are likely going to have personally identifiable information on the scammers, and investigators can use that information to catch them. Now, if you're using a cryptocurrency exchange or a software wallet like one on your phone, the transaction ID is usually going to be in either your receipt or payment confirmation. Transaction IDs usually look like a long string of letters and numbers. A Bitcoin transaction ID, for example, is usually going to be a 65-digit hexadecimal number. If yours looks a lot smaller than that, you might just have an internal transaction ID, and investigators aren't really going to be able to do much with that on the blockchain. If you're unable to find your transaction IDs, don't worry. There's still a lot that investigators can do without them. You're just going to need the date of each transaction, the exact amount you sent, and the addresses that you sent those amounts to. But knowing the transaction IDs is really going to help investigators and speed up the process. Step 2 to recovering your crypto, write your narrative. A clean and concise narrative is really going to help investigators understand what exactly they're looking at when they're looking at your flow of funds. So it's really useful to include any and all information you have on the scammer, the type of scam, how you guys met, how you communicated. Additionally, law enforcement is usually going to require some kind of proof of ownership to prove that the funds you initially lost were yours in the first place. And that's really just to prevent scammers from copying some random transaction off the blockchain and pretending it's their own. Step 3 is actually contacting investigators. Now, depending on how much you lost, you likely won't be able to afford any kind of professional services. Fortunately, there are some pro bono services out there, such as CipherTrace and their Defenders League. Choosing between paid professional services and pro bono work is really going to depend on the amount you lost and how fast you want your investigation to go. If you have a super complicated investigation and you lost a huge amount of funds, you're probably going to want to pay for professional services. That way, if you ever have to take a scammer to court, you'll have those professional services to back you up, testify on your behalf, etc., etc. Pro bono services, on the other hand, while free, can take a little bit more time to do their investigations, and that's usually because of large backlogs. However, I come in contact with a lot of crypto scams every day, and to be honest, if the criminal's any good, sometimes there's probably no chance of you actually getting your money back. And in that case, it's better not to waste your money paying for some investigation that's only going to tell you, hey, sorry, but there's nothing we can do. Especially when it's just one individual claiming a scam, law enforcement is usually going to wait till there's a larger group of people before they open an investigation. Unfortunately, they don't have the resources to follow every single small scam. And what most people don't know is unless your crypto hits a regulated exchange, there's nothing cops can even do. And if the exchange is overseas, they might not even respond to law enforcement in your area. I'll be sure to leave a link below for CipherTrace's Defenders League and how you can best contact them. Now, if you were hacked instead of falling for a scam, all the same rules still apply. Now, step 4, contact law enforcement. Now, I put contacting law enforcement behind contacting an investigator, and that's because most times law enforcement isn't going to know what to do with the crypto investigation. They don't have the resources and they don't have the proper training. Once you get your final report back from a cryptocurrency forensics firm, you can give that report to law enforcement, and then they'll know exactly which exchanges to subpoena for extra information and to hopefully catch a perpetrator. Unfortunately, what we find is most law enforcement will instead just defer the case to IC3, the Internet Crime and Complaint Center. And unfortunately, IC3 will usually just wait until they have enough victims come forward to one scam that they can open a larger investigation. But don't worry, even though that means you might have to wait a little longer to get your funds back, it's usually a lot easier to get funds back when you're part of a larger criminal investigation instead of one single asset recovery victim. Most law enforcement agencies also have really high thresholds before they'll even begin to consider an investigation. So if you're unfortunate enough to be victim to a scam below these thresholds, most time, they're just forwarding you right onto IC3. Now, when it comes to whether or not you're ever going to see your money again, that comes up to several factors. And that includes the amount you lost, the obfuscation techniques used by the perpetrator, and whether or not the funds have moved to a regulated exchange. If you're unfortunate enough to fall victim to a crypto scam, or you have a client that has, I really hope you found this information helpful. If you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to leave any comments below. I'll try to answer as many as I can. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps our channel grow. And if you're listening to us on the pod, you can always contact us via the contact form on our website, cashonlypod.com. Until next week, peace.